Today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the Diamond Select Toys Star Trek Enterprise NX-01 electronic starship. Spot took a break from doing some of these Star Trek ships, but wanted to go back and kind of finish off where we left off because we kind of were looking at a series of different ships. By the way, if you haven't had a chance to check out any of those videos, by all means, go check them out. I still want to pick up a couple of core ships, and I'd like to get myself kind of the new Enterprise A. And I'd like to give myself an Enterprise D to some regard, and an Enterprise E as well. But we're kind of going backwards a little bit. We already had a look at classic Trek. Now we're going back to even further back as we look at Star Trek Enterprise. Not maybe everyone's favorite cup of tea when it came to a Star Trek show, but I think nonetheless, Star Trek the Enterprise cemented itself in creating some of the, or expanding, I should say, some of the stories that were originally made famous by Kirk's crew. Comes to us from the folks over at Diamond Select Toys. Head over to www.diamondselecttoys.com, and not only can you check out some of the Star Trek stuff that they're releasing, but of course, as you know, Diamond Select does a ton of other cool things as well. The back of the package, let's spin it around there. Some of the advertised other things that they've done for Star Trek are a science tricorder, classic communicator, both from classic Trek, the USS Enterprise NCC-1701E from the Enterprise or Star Trek movies, Klingon Disruptor, and a Minimates USS Enterprise NCC-1701 with Captain Kirk. We have already looked at this on the channel here. Some stats for you. The length of the NX-01 Enterprise is 225 meters. It has 7 decks, 83 crew, and a max speed of warp 5.2. The Enterprise was the first Earth starship capable of warp 5, thereby making interstellar travel possible and thrusting Earth onto the galactic stage. Primarily intended for peaceful missions, the Enterprise nonetheless found itself drawn into armed conflict with numerous species, many of whom they were encountering for the first time. The launch of the Enterprise took Earth out from under the shadow of the Vulcans and placed it at the center of the interstellar politics, leading directly to the formation of the United Federation of Planets. The NX-01 also has authentic sound effects, dialogue from Captain Archer, light-up engines, bridge and weapons, and stay-on light-up feature. Spot's going to take a break and get this opened up. When we come back, though, we're going to get a better look at the Star Trek Enterprise NX-01. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Alright, so now that we've got the NX-01 Enterprise out of packaging, let's have a look at the contents that come included. For starters, you get yourself a display base. It says Enterprise down below there, and you've got the NX-01 in a very simplistic outline on the bottom of the base. Then you have this curved mounted portion that clips. And actually, I thought it would clip in here, as we've seen with some other Enterprises, but it actually clips. There's holes on the undersides, and then you've got 3 pegs. You line those 3 up, and it just fits into place like so. You got your display stand. The other thing that comes included is this, and actually, let's just before we do that. So you've got your NX-01. You flip it on the upside down, and you have to take a screwdriver. There are no batteries inside here, and what you have to do is you have to unscrew this plate portion right here. Now there's a hole here that is going to attach itself to the ball joint of the base. If you don't want that base, if you don't want the ship itself attached to the base, let's say if you want to be hanging it, for example, what you would do is you would take this off, this little shuttle bay portion, unscrew it completely off here. And then what you could do then is, instead of having the hole on the underside, you can replace it. They've given you a cover that covers over that hole. So if you don't want that big noticeable hole there, you can just replace it with the covered plate and just don't simply display it on the stand. Spot's now got 3 brand new AAA batteries put inside there. And then this plate would go over top, just like that. And then you would revisit the little clip here to be mounted to the stand. One thing though, I didn't I didn't just simply resume the review by having the battery already, the plate already on, and basically just looking at the ship, because I wanted to leave this off for a second and show something. There's a try me button, or a try me switch, that can be switched from try me to normal. The reason why I showed this in this part of this review is because you have to put this plate back on, like that. You have to line these little notches here, basically tuck in and then screw down. So we have to tuck that in and then screw down. And take your screwdriver and screw that back into place. It's fine the amount that you have to go through, all the legwork that you have to do to change the batteries. I get that, you know, keep everything covered, keep everything stored away. The thing that I don't like though is like there's no off switch to it, or if you wanted to switch between modes, you know, the switch is underneath that involves taking a lot of stuff off to get to it. I suppose it's not a big deal because once you go from try me to on, you're not likely to go back and switch it back to try me. Maybe my biggest concern is I wish that this was just something you could pop off as opposed to having to unscrew everything to take everything off to get to the batteries, as opposed to if it was just like a plate that you could just pop off and put back in. I know this would then involve a couple little tabs that could potentially break, but just a little side note. So we can go ahead and take the ball joint here, mount it to the underside of the Enterprise, like that. And these are always stiff because you got such a broad ball joint to peg this into place. Once you get into place, or I should say once it is completely into place, which it isn't, I also don't like that it's ball jointed and you have to screw something that is clear plastic, because something clear plastic, or in this case a blue translucent plastic, I worry that stress marks will happen immediately. At any rate though, there is the NX-01 Enterprise now on its display stand. Obviously the prime way that I'm going to be displaying it is displaying it with the display stand as you see right here. It just shows the ship a little bit better as opposed to having it laying flat. I'm also not a guy that really hangs my ships. I'm not. If that is your thing and you like hanging your ships by strings, by all means, but I'm not really big into that. If anything, I'd like to have them just mounted on stands. This looks good. I'm always questioning whether, you know, me twisting this over time, if I'm going to cause stress marks right here. But so far, you're probably not going to be putting the ship on very often and then, you know, trying to twist it back in. Once it's in there, bend it back to where you want to have it displayed, and you're likely probably going to leave it. So we'll just move that to the side. We don't really need the display stand for the rest of this review. Let's have a look at the ship. Now, I've got a slightly bent dish on the front of the ship here. Just kind of do my best to warp that back into place. It doesn't look like it's holding on only by a very small peg attaching it into the interior of the saucer section, but it's a little bit on the warp side. The coloring on the NX-01 is a very much more stark silver than the traditional colors that you usually find on the Enterprise. The Enterprises are a gray in color, but not to the metallic color that we're getting here with the NX-01. It's a much smaller ship, obviously, as you can guess as well, because obviously it's holding a lot less of a crew. And it still has the initial core elements of what an Enterprise would be, as opposed to though having the bottom section of the ship and then the nacelle thrusters, or the engine thrusters sticking out from the bottom. Essentially, it's running out from the saucer section completely, just as little runners, and then you've got the thrusters at the back here. Some real fantastic details, though, and let's bring the camera in so we can see it. Obviously, you've got NX-01, very predominantly showcased on the front of the ship, which carries over to the other Enterprises and really any of the other Starfleet ships. Then you've got all these little lights, little gold areas here, probably like docking bays. Then you've got a little green light there. That doesn't light up. A little red light here also does not light up. Some additional gold here as well. Right here is the button where you're going to be pressing to activate all the sound effects. I'll get into that in a second. And then at the back here, some additional gold. Nice blacks as well incorporated in here. Some blues. Slightly blue translucent plastic here on the back thrusters. This will light up when you activate the switch. And we flip it on the underside here. NX-01s on the sides. And again, some additional green and red lights. And some gold there as well. It's not my favorite ship, but I get the fact that they were trying to go with a more primitive look design while still keeping the design elements of Enterprise. It's not my favorite ship though. My favorite ship is still Enterprise A. By far, Enterprise A is my favorite ship. So let's go ahead and we'll cycle through the sound effects and the phrases from the series Enterprise. Of course, you'll get some NX-01 sounds, Enterprise sounds like phase cannons, photonic torpedoes. I keep on saying photon torpedoes, photonic torpedoes. Impulse, you have a warp, you've got some lights, a transporter, and a grappler. So let's go ahead and we'll cycle through that. Of course, Archer will be making some appearances in the sound effects as well. Let's go ahead and press the button.
This is Captain Archer of the Starship Enterprise. We're on a mission of exploration from the planet Earth.
I really do have to fix that front saucer here. The little dish just is completely off. Let's press it again.
Prepare for warp.
And again.
Stay on long-range scanners. Keep an eye out for any Klingon ships coming this way. Go to half impulse, Ensign. Hail them. This is the Starship Enterprise. Do you need assistance?
I think what we'll do as well, I think Spot will hit all the lights, because obviously you can see the lights here lighting up on Enterprise, but it looks a little bit better in the dark. Let's go ahead and cut the lights. Now in pitch black, or somewhat pitch black, let's press the button again.
Bring the grappler online. Open a channel. Bring the weapons online. Set a pursuit course. Archer to boarding party, come in.
Like some of the other Diamond Select ships as well, what you can do is hold the button and it will pretty much kind of put the ship in a ready mode where the lights will continue to stay on. To accomplish that, just hold the button. And the lights will continue to stay on. And the sound effects will also sound as well. And then we can press the button again to shut it off. All in all, it's a great looking starship. It's a little bit more primitive, yes. It's not one of my favorite starships at all, but I do really like the design of it from understanding the fact of this is like the roots of what Enterprise would eventually become. I get where they were going with, and based on that, I liked the ship for what it started at. It certainly will not be the most favorited design of myself, or maybe to other collectors as well that probably have a fonder soft spot, maybe for like the Enterprise A, maybe the Enterprise D, or even maybe for the Enterprise, I guess E, which is the last incarnation of the Enterprise in at least the Star Trek lore. Overall, it's a great looking ship from that end of it. It's not my favorite starship, but I think Diamond Select did a fantastic job on this release. As Spot's going to put it up on his shelf, and I think what I'll do is I'll put it like in sequence. There's still a couple of ships I need to pick up, but I'll put like the NX-01, then the NCC-1701, then eventually the 1701A, and so on and so forth. You can currently pick this up at your local comic book store, and certainly for fans of Star Trek, you definitely would be wanting to add this starting block for your Enterprise timeline. Today's collectible spot, though, we were having a look at the Diamond Select toys. This was the Diamond Select Enterprise Enterprise from Star Trek Enterprise. This was the NX-01 Enterprise ship. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more collectible spots heading your way. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.